Yeah, we've got a great group of seniors who've done a good job of setting the sail in the right direction, and it's been a very eventful year. We're excited to get to play in what I consider to be one of the greatest venues and greatest games in all of college football, and it's obviously had a lot of impact through the years on the playoff system and the BCS system, and I think it's a great environment, very special, and we get the privilege of playing what I think is one of the hottest teams in college football right now in Auburn. Gus has done a tremendous job regrouping his team and coming back after some early and mid-season losses, and they're playing really, really well and beat a really good Alabama team yesterday afternoon.
All right, for questions, press star 1, and we will begin with Jason Butt of the Macon Telegraph.
Kirby, I was wondering, what are the challenges or even the advantages of playing a team twice in one season, and in this case, especially in 4 weeks?
I really don't see it as a challenge or an advantage for either team. I think we obviously know each other pretty well because we play each other every year anyway, with them being our crossover rival. So it's just 2 times in 1 year is unique, but it's not really a challenge or an advantage in any way. I think both teams just know each other, and a lot of carryover on both staffs, a lot of talented players on both teams. So I'm not sure that it really presents any advantages or disadvantages.
Thanks. Next we have Chip Towers of the AJC.
I was interested in reading a couple of weeks ago how close you were possibly to going to Auburn, to taking that as your first head coaching job. Can you just bring us up to date a little bit on that? I mean, do you ever give yourself pause to think of what if things had turned out differently? And I'm sure you're happy with how things have turned out.
Not really thought about that much. I mean, in the profession that we're in, you worry about the here and now, and you try to be where your feet are, and that's really all we've been thinking about since the arrival here is turning this program into the caliber program we think it should be, and developing our team and these young men into better people. That's been the goal. So that's all the other stuff's really in the past.
Were there some other times that you were close to a job?
Yeah, been several other times close to a job, but I don't think that's not really the important thing right now. It's getting this team ready to play what I consider to be a really good football team.
Thanks.
Next we have Seth Emerson of the AJC.
If I can delve into the rematch thing really quick again, what do you remember about 2011 when you all played LSU again? Was there anything unique about that? I guess it was about a couple months difference rather than a few weeks here.
Yeah, the biggest difference was how far apart the games were. There were a big difference because we had that entire prep time. In this situation, you've got a game week, so it's really 4 or 5 days of prep, and then you got to go play. That was a month of preparing and seeing what might have been even more than a month that we knew we were going to play, and we still had to prepare. So it made it a little different in that regard. You had more time to do things and try to get things different. I don't think you can reinvent the wheel in a week, and really hard to do. So,
thanks.
Next we have Murray Poole of Bulldog Illustrated.
You said the Kentucky and Auburn games, you wasn't, as good tackling as you wanted. How did you see the Tech game? Look like, better tackling maybe at this game yesterday. And I'd also like to ask you about playing inside the Dome, Mercedes-Benz. I know you played, of course, in the Dome of North Carolina. How much will that help these guys? And maybe the other ones, though, just have to rely on that practice you're going to get in there before the game.
Yeah, that practice before the game won't help a whole lot because it's just really a walkthrough, and you kind of get to see the place. Yeah, I think the experience in the Georgia Dolphins North Carolina game was great. I think that was good for our kids. Some of them will benefit from that, but ultimately, it's not really about where we're playing. It's about who we're playing and preparing the right way. And we're just really worried about today right now and focusing on the things we got to do today to get prepared. As far as the tackling, there were less spaced tackles. There was a lot of sideline. It's just different when you play Georgia Tech. It's really hard to compare the tackling. I know for you guys, a tackle's a tackle, but really for us, it's different because those kids are getting the ball either in a scrum or they're getting it out on the perimeter right on the sideline. So it's just hard to measure that. We did tackle better yesterday. I agree with that, but they were not put in a lot of loose play situations that typically happen when you play a spread offense.
All right, thank you. Next, we have David Pascal at Chattanooga Times Free Press.
Just kind of out of curiosity, without revealing too much, how much, as far as film prep for this thing, I mean, do you look at the first meeting between you guys? Do you study Bama? Now that you've already played them once, do you look at anything that happened before the first time you played them?
Yeah, we have a breakdown system we use, and we have a lot of games in it. We always do. We carry 7-8 games in a breakdown, and we had that many the last time we played them. We'll have that many this time we play them. And just over the history that obviously I have and the coaches on the staff have with Auburn, because a lot of our coaches have competed against Auburn in different places. We got a lot of information. That's not really what this game's going to come down to. It's going to come down to flat back, hat speed, playing physical, who can get off blocks and who can tackle. And that's what football usually comes down to. So the breakdown information will be there, but they're going to run the plays they run. Gus always has, and they're pretty good at it. And we got to run the defenses we run, and we got to run the offense we run. So at the end of the day, it'll be a lot more about how the kids perform on the grass.
And then, I mean, as someone who has faced Auburn every year for a long time, I know they've had some unbelievable offenses and some Heisman Trophy winners and all that stuff, but if you look at offense, defense, and special teams, is this front to back the most sound Auburn team you've seen, or how would you compare that to the others you faced?
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. You got a quarterback that's as smart as theirs, throws the ball with ease, very efficient in a passing game. They've got some really good weapons out there wide out, and obviously they've got one of the most physical offensive lines, and I think they're playing at a really high rate right now on both sides of the ball and special teams. So it would be right up there with one of the best Auburn teams that I've seen.
Thank you.
Next is Anthony Dasher of GeorgiaSports.com.
Hey, Coach. You talked after the game at Auburn about the way they control both lines of scrimmage. What's going to be the challenge when it comes to the shaking the memory of that in order to execute the way you're going to need to on Saturday?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just being honest. I mean, you don't shake a memory. You put it in their face and you challenge people, and you play more physical. Strike people, get off blocks, and if you're on offense, you got to strike people, stay on blocks, and fundamentally, we got to play better than we played last time, and we obviously got to play with a little more discipline and composure to avoid the knucklehead decisions that we had in the game. So, you can't give good teams things. And if you give them things, it makes it twice as hard. They're already good enough, that they're talented enough that you don't have to give them anything. They can earn a lot, but you can't give them things on top of it. And the physicality will be really important in this game.
One quick follow-up, Coach. What's the biggest way your postseason experience and that of your assistants can help your team in a game like this?
Just making sure the kids understand, trust, and believe in the process that we go through this week. That it's not larger than life. It's the next game, and each one of these games they've been playing have been really important, and this just happens to be the next one. So I think leaning on the fact that played in a lot of these type games, you gotta lean on that, and the kids gotta be confident with it.
I appreciate it.
Next is Matthew Stevens of the Montgomery Advertiser.
Kirby, again, to ducktail off the film prep, and watching the loss at Auburn, you have to almost make sure you remind yourself that for 9 weeks you didn't play that way. You can almost overanalyze a game like that in this type of week preparation.
Not really. I mean, it is what it is. Those were the matchups that day. Those other 9 weeks were different matchups. You know, it was a different kid on a different kid. For that day, that's the matchup we had. And for whatever reason, whether it was they had a better matchup or they were more physical, that's what it was. And it is what it is. We got to go out and try to change that by how we play and try to change whether it's a matchup or give ourselves our best chance to be successful and to go out and execute and fundamentally play better. You know, that's the number one thing you can do better is make better decisions on offense and tackle better on defense and play better on special teams.
Next we'll go to Dan Matthews of Gridiron Now.
Coach, I'm assuming you've had a chance to meet with your players since you guys found out that you're going to be facing Auburn. Was there any reaction from them of getting their second shot at them, or was it just business as usual?
No, we don't meet with the players on Sunday. That's our players' day off, so that's not something we go in and meet with them or talk about. We visit with them on Monday. I mean, obviously they all know. I mean, we all know, but by the time we got back, that game was not decided yet.
And then a follow-up to that, when you knew the two deep and the roster that you're going to have coming out of camp, could you have envisioned that this outcome to this point of the season was possible?
Yeah, I mean, felt like we had a good two deep and we had a good team. I mean, certainly I thought that there would be more close calls, more tight ball games based on the year before. But I certainly envisioned that we could do this and that we had good enough players to do it. And they all had to play good. They had to play better on special teams. We had to improve in a lot of places. And I think we've done that to put ourselves kind of in the situation we're in.
Thanks.
Next we have Jeff Hart of WDUN.
Hey, Coach. This is one of the reasons that Georgia fans wanted to make the change and bring you in was to get to this game. Do you feel that you're on track, or are you a little ahead of track on bringing the process that you learned at Alabama over here to Athens?
Yeah, there's no track. I mean, each team is independent of the previous one. Everybody wants to put a model up there of year 1, year 2, year 3. Every year is different. And if you get complacent, then you can get yourself in trouble. It's a cutthroat league in the SEC, and you better be on top of it, recruiting, on top of it, developing your players, on top of it with your facilities at every moment. And that's something that we're constantly working at. And we want to improve in every way. The way we coach our players, the way we develop our players, the way we recruit our players, we're trying to improve in every way to give ourselves the most chances to be successful. But as far as where we are now, or where we are as far as on a timeline, next year's starting over from scratch for us.
Thank you, Coach.
This is Mark Weiser of the Athens Banner-Herald.
Kirby, you mentioned about not shaking a memory, putting it in their face. Was that kind of the way you approach things the week after the Auburn game, and how do you think they've responded? And with Ben Cleveland on the offensive line, has it panned out like you wanted in the last couple games?
It's been okay. It hadn't been a major difference in regards to Ben. I mean, Ben's doing a nice job. He and Solly are still in competition. I mean, each week it's that way in practice, and we get after it pretty good in practice. So we'll see how it turns out this week. Some other competitions across the board that are still going on out there. We got guys that are playing well, and the guys that play in practice well will be the guys that get to play the most. And we really didn't shake the Auburn thing in their face, guys. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's not really my coaching style to throw it in their face. I mean, we're more technical and try to coach them on what they didn't do right. Not one kid went out there against Auburn and didn't want to do it well and didn't not play hard. I mean, we didn't have success as a team, and a lot of that falls on me as the head coach and the rest of the staff. So we're trying to find ways to help them, not rub their face in it. We just use it as teaching and learning so that we can improve.
And Kerryon Johnson's availability this game, health status, how much would that change things for Auburn, you think?
I really have no clue on that. I mean, I don't have any. I'm a lot more worried about Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel's status for us than I am the other, because that's I can only control what we can control, and we're focused on trying to get our team ready to play.
Thank you.
Next we'll go to Philip Marshall of Auburn 24/7.
You worked with Kevin Steele a good bit. Could you just talk about him, and do you see anything different in what he's doing now than what you've seen in the past?
He's done a tremendous job. I tell you what, he's got a defense playing at a high level, and they are very confident. They get after it. They tackle well. They look fast as heck on film. A lot of players that have played a lot of SEC ball out there playing for them. You know, they've got some DBs that seem like they've been in the SEC forever, and they're playing at a high level. Big guys up front. I remember when Will was there, he recruited a lot of those players. That one year that he came over from Florida, and they signed some of those guys. And Kevin has come in and won those guys' confidence over, and has really done a good job defensively. As far as if you're talking about scheme-wise, yeah, there's some similarity because he and I had been together before, and some similarity between what they do and Alabama and us and some others in the league. But they're playing really high level right now.
Next to James Crepey of AL.com.
Kirby, you touched on rematches before in the long period of time in 2011, but wanted to ask you, what did you learn from in 2006 when you were the Dolphins, just because it seems a bit more analogous as far as the fast turnaround and facing division opponents again as you did that year? Just what did you learn from that experience of having to prepare for the same opponents 3 times in division opponents in the NFL level? And is there anything that you can take from that experience and apply it this week?
Well, you always look back and you have common themes and common cut-ups you do, and you look and you investigate those. You try to find out what worked, what didn't, what gives them problems, what you were able to do. When you have a game plan, you typically don't use all the game plan, just like I'm sure when Auburn played us, they had plays they didn't use. So you're able to go back, recycle those because you didn't necessarily use them, and it's the same way for us. Sometimes you have pressures you didn't use, but you've been repping, so you get to pull those things out and get a little carryover with the team. I think that helps. But at the end of the day, it really is not about the game before. It's really about the motivation in this game, and our kids understand that. They know that they've got an opportunity to go out and at least erase what they did last time, and this is a fresh start to go out and play a new game.
I also wanted to ask you about punt and kickoff returns. That was an area that you guys did quite well against Auburn, and they struggled quite a bit, not only in that game, but all season, particularly on kickoff returns. Obviously, this is in a dome. It'll be easier for both kickers to get touchbacks, but if the opportunity presents itself, would you hope that your returners might even be more aggressive, more willing to be more aggressive, because Auburn struggles so much, where maybe in a situation where they might ordinarily take a touchback, are you telling them to possibly be more aggressive in it against an opponent who struggled so poorly on kickoff return coverage?
Well, you just got to be smart. We make a decision each game, how far we allow our return to bring it out from, and you got to be careful in regards to that, because just the law statistics say that a lot of times you're better off taking it at the 25 than trying to return it because of the things that can happen. I get where you're going with that, but we'll have a decision for our guy how far he can bring it out from, and that's always the case. I wouldn't be surprised if their guy doesn't kick it out every time in there, though. Really powerful leg.
Thank you.
Next is Brandon Suggs of the Macon Telegraph.
Hey, Coach, in the last game against Auburn,
Jeff Holland was one of the team's leading tacklers and had 3 quarterback hurries. So what type of lessons did y'all learn in that game in terms of the challenges he presents in pass rush, and how do y'all prepare for that this week?
Well, they've got a lot of good ones. That's the tough thing. As soon as you start worrying about one guy, another guy can beat you. Jeff's a really great get-off guy. He's got great pass rush ability. He's got speed, plays really hard, talented player. And, of course, he was working on Andrew a lot of the game. And I thought Andrew kept battling, and he battled hard, and he got better as the game went along. Sometimes the best way to grow and develop as a player is you get to play more against good players, and hopefully that experience for Andrew will pay off some in this game. But Jeff is a guy that I recruited out of high school, was really good, and he's only gotten better. They're doing a really good job with him.
Thank you.
We have time for 1 or 2 more. If you have any follow-up questions or additional questions, please press star 1. A follow-up from Chip Towers.
You recruit against so many different schools at Georgia because of the Atlanta area and everything else. Would you say Auburn is a team that you run up against almost more than any other? And I just wonder, I know how coaches are about losing games. You don't forget the losses. But what about recruiting losses when you look across the sideline and you know how close you were with this guy or that guy?
When you say look across the side, are you talking about how close you are with the players that you recruited, or are you talking about the coaches?
How close you might have been to getting it? How close you might have been to getting that guy, but he's on the other sideline rather than on yours, you know?
Yeah, it happens a lot. I would say that Auburn, between Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Clemson, I mean, those are the ones. I can't say that we go up against Auburn more than anybody else, but as much as, certainly, there's a lot of overlap there with them, recruiting in the state of Georgia. I think they do a great job. They've got a great program, and, kids want to play in the SEC, so that's going to continue to be the case, and, that's kind of your lifeblood, is your ability to go recruit the talented players, and a lot of it is picking the right ones to go recruit. A lot of times they might value one more than we do, and vice versa. We may value one more than they do, and you end up getting them based on how much you want them a lot of times. And certainly when you look across the field, you see guys that you know well and that you develop relationships with, but I'm not one of those people I look at it as I enjoy getting to see those kids I got to know. I enjoy seeing them grow up. I mean, Stephen Roberts is a kid I recruited hard. He was committed to Alabama, and he's become a really good player. Marlon Davidson, I had his brother in camp when he was only in 5th, 6th grade. I've known Marlon and his family for a long time. So seeing him grow up and seeing him become a Trey Williams, those are all kids that I had really close relationships with, and they're growing up, becoming good players. So, I mean, I'm happy for those guys that they've developed and become better people, and I think that's part of the coaching profession. It's what we do. Now, I want to pull to beat them as hard as I possibly can come Saturday, but after the game, I want to be able to shake their hand and tell them how proud I am of where they've come.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Let's go to Vance Levy of Bulldog Illustrated.
Hey, Kirby, just talking a little bit about how much the Bulldog Nation can help the team on Saturday, and just getting back to Georgia, are you pretty excited about the support of the fans and what they could do, as Auburn proved when y'all had to go over there, what that 12th man can do for the team?
Yeah, we're excited to be playing, in our home state in a brand new venue that is really kind of the mecca for college football right now. I mean, you think about it, it's played host to one of the opening games of the season. It was one of the best, and now it's going to play host to the close of the season, the regular season anyway, of one of the biggest games, and it's right in our own backyard. So our fan base has got a chance to impact this game, and we certainly want them to come out and turn out and do as they have done this year, but to a higher degree, and be there for us and support us. And you never know what kind of impact a crowd noise can have on a game, but we'll certainly need their help.
Thanks.
Going to wrap you up, Coach. Thank you, and we'll see you on Friday in Atlanta.